ぐーちゃん、そっちはいけないの。ちょっとの間我慢して。
summer before it's fall. Tune your strings and play your cards. Little words hit me like a game of darts. And you're beating, beating on my drum. And you're beating, beating on my door. Running faster, faster than my dreams. And I can't stop to breathe.